Nah, I'm talking about for both of us.
I know. No, I'm
You're
just
more than
saying,
welcome.
because I don't have all this down to a T. Like I know what I want and what I
But you lived in your honesty from the beginning.
want.
So if you had come at me with like so I'm doing these interviews, then I would have expected it. But like, nah, this is new. I think
Totally do.
that's what's gonna help. Like people can help you when we know that it's new for everybody. Yeah.
When you can admit you know you need help. Because people sit back awkwardly like, should I tell you? Should I tell her this is messed up? Is she gonna be offended?
But if you admit from the beginning to somebody that it's new, then nobody's tripping.
Which is good. This is good for entrepreneurs.
No matter what parish you live in the 10 parishes in this district, but to be engaged, to be focused, to be committed to showing up in your community and being active. And then when we need you to email Congress and write letters and speak to members, make phone calls and things of that nature.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Progress with Portia, where we have real conversations to progress individuals and communities. I'm excited to have Go Ride Chuck Daniel. I had to say Go Ride. Wait, I said Chuck Daniels. Charles.
It's all right. It's all right. It's all right.
Charles Daniel. I was the S on Daniels.
It's not on the screen, so we're all right.
All right. So thank you so much for being here with me today. Anybody who knows me knows that I love Go Ride. Go Ride has been my sanctuary during COVID. And I don't know if I would have survived COVID without being able to come here.
I appreciate it.
It was much needed. And so I'm really thankful that, I know you were transitioning. I believe you came here from New Orleans around that time. Mm-hmm. I guess right before COVID. Is that around? Okay. And so I'm thankful that whatever led you here, led you here in that time, because it's definitely, I've just enjoyed it for different reasons. And so I want to say for mental health, for being a part of my mental health regimen, my health regimen, and then also a safe way to socialize during the pandemic. Yeah. So it's been amazing. So thank you, Chuck.
No problem at all. I think that's been one of the things I wanted the most was the people who rode with me to get the same feeling and the same emotion and the same fulfillment out of it that I do. And it seems like it's been resonating with people. Yeah. Just to be outside, the nostalgic feel of riding your bike again, just being able to really appreciate nature in its entirety from its simplicity. One of the things that I try to make it so personal for people, because I don't want to be that catalyst that makes you enjoy it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because only one person can ride a bike.
Right.
So it's just you, the bike, and nature, you, the bike, your thoughts, you, your bike, and you know what I mean?
Right.
So that's been my saving grace a lot. And biking helped me out of nowhere. When I initially started the company, I was in New Orleans. I was in an odd space just because I was working as a data analyst full-time, corporate America. I think I could say it now. I'm out of the contract. I was doing a contract with GE. I was really stressed, looking for outlets.
Right.
Positive ones. Living in New Orleans, there's tons of outlets. Tons of outlets.
Positive.
But I just wanted something healthy, something that kept me engaged, something that got me outside.
Okay.
While working in data analytics, I worked in the nightlife a lot as well.
Okay.
So a lot of people, you're always out. I got paid to be there. So best believe, it became, I didn't realize how much of a tourist destination New Orleans really was. We take it for granted that it's so close.
Right.
But there are millions of people that come in and spend billions of dollars a year.
Yeah.
That's why COVID is hitting them so hard right now, is because the tourism sustains not only New Orleans, but the state.
Right.
Like there's a lot of things in the state that are going to suffer because tourism is dropped.
Wow.
And nobody understands that, it's a fun time. You think bourbon, you think about all the negatives, but on average, over a 3-day span, everybody that visits New Orleans spends $1,500.
Wow.
And, and you multiply that millions of times over, and that's where you get it from.
Right.
So all the things that you see taking place in the state, and I know that because one of my other contracts was the convention center. That was the last contract.
Before you got your freedom.
What's up, Tim?
Yeah.
I went out. That went out in a blaze of glory in that one. Like, you just get to your wits' end. Like, I really was just tired of being marginalized because I was Black.
Yeah.
Like, no matter how much work I put in, no matter what I produced, no matter what was going on, it was just never enough.
Yeah.
And I just wanted something to prove that I was enough to myself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what Go Ride became. It became a way for me to actually just step outside of my comfort zone, trust and believe in something that I believed in, that I could take everything I learned in corporate America, everything I learned at LSU, everything I learned at Baton Rouge High, and encapsulate all of that knowledge and see if I could really put it to use. Mm-hmm. I was putting it to use on a day-to-day, but the same company that I saved $250,000 in the first 90 days, mm-hmm. I got no bonus.
Right.
You know, that was my salary for years, but that was nothing, like, there was no appreciation factor.
Right.
So you get tired of fighting those glass ceilings, and I just wanted to really, instead of breaking one, mm-hmm. I just decided to build my own house next door. So that's really what Go Ride became, like building my own corporation, building my own brand, my own way out, if you will.
Now you said that, like, I mean, so it seemed kind of smooth and easy. And you said you started riding, I guess, during that time. So did you always like ride, or you just started?
It's so ironic, right? Like, people would really think that I've always ridden.
Assumed that.
You would, right? You really would.
I thought this story was like from my childhood. Like, I used to ride my bike all the time.
Now, let's be clear. My parents were very firm believers in outside, and I came from a generation of outdoors. And it was a blessing that I love riding bikes.
Okay.
I didn't realize it then, but I realize it now. Bike riding with a family is probably one of the least inexpensive forms of family entertainment.
Yeah.
If everybody has a bike, you can ride it multiple times. Right. And that's what we used to do. My dad used to take us on bike rides throughout the neighborhood. Okay. My mom would do a lot of the same.
Okay.
But somewhere in transition, I think everyone in life just assumes that riding bikes is for younger generation,
mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm. Or people with kids.
One or the other, right? Or the random people around the lake. But what happens is, every Christmas you'll go out and buy your child a new bike, but you don't even have a bike to ride with them.
Right.
And that's what I wanted to provide. Like, a lot of the times we rent, I don't mind. I tell families, like, you can bring your kid's bike. Mm-hmm. Just you can rent one of mine if you need one. Right. I'll provide the speaker. I'll provide the trailer. If there's somebody in between that can't ride a bike of our size, just bring theirs. Like, you're just renting a bike. Mm-hmm. We don't allow them on tours, but we do on rentals, because I want families to get out and experience that.
I know that.
And that's been the difference maker for me. Is I used to ride a lot when I was younger, and then at a certain point it just wasn't cool to ride. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. So what I kind of focus myself on is reigniting the cool factor of riding bikes. Okay. Because it is like, people don't have any objection to riding a bike other than nobody's riding bikes.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so if it's, I just understood from, you know, even for myself, what it provided for me, it allowed me to actually get out, enjoy New Orleans. Like, I learned so much about New Orleans because I was riding bikes.
Right. Wow.
There's from different places to eat, from different, you know, venues to different, you know, ambiance. Like, there's so many different things that you can see from a bike perspective because you're not zooming by in a car.
Right.
And New Orleans is one of the top 10 in the nation for biking. And, you know, so there's a lot of infrastructure in place for bikes. Okay. And since we've been here, New Orleans is really, Baton Rouge as well, has really gone to great lengths to make biking friendly, accessible, fun places to be. Mm-hmm. Like, up and down Government, they're adding bike lanes because they see how much of the community is actually enjoying biking again, you know? Yeah. But that's really, you know, I guess it started for me about almost 7 years ago now. Okay. Now that we're in 2021. Mm-hmm. We were, you know, a group of friends and myself, they were promoters, they were like, you know, bartenders and just people in the nightlife industry. Right. You know, we'd be together just on other nights, and it would always be a group that would ride around New Orleans. And you know, they were a pretty diverse group, but it just wasn't many of us in it.
Right.
And it became a, you know, they're on bikes, they're drinking, laughing, having a good time. Happy Tuesday, you know, like we were like, why are they so happy? It's a Tuesday, you know, like so. But just seeing that pure gratification every week that they would have, we just started, you know, randomly. It was like, let's ride a bike.
Right.
Like, I don't even have a bike. I didn't have a bike. I rented. I started by renting a bike.
Okay.
And I even encourage people here, you know, buy a bike.
Right.
Like, I'm not opposed to, I know it's against my business model, but there's at a certain point, it's advantageous for you to buy a bike. Right. And the other part is, you know, I understand it's easier a lot of times. I provide a convenience.
Right.
Not only the programming around it, but the convenience of not having to store a bike, maintain a bike, carry a bike. Right. So you know, if that's the rationale for not buying one, I wholeheartedly agree. But for some people that they really want to ride, and I could tell the passion behind the riding, they always, you know what I mean? Like they ask specific bike questions. I encourage them to buy one just because at a certain point, you know, it lends itself to riding even more.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I started off renting bikes, and we actually made this one spot extremely popular from renting so many bikes. But, you know, it was all part of the process. And I'll never forget, I like drove to like Slidell to get this bike that I was super excited about. And once I got it, that was the one bike that was really like the corner that turned. Because I just rode everywhere. Wow. And it became such an outlet, even on the days when I was blessed to be able to work from home. But this was pre-COVID, which is, it was so hard to get a job to work from home. Ironically, it's just the South. Tech, you're like, oh, you work in tech, you can always work. But in the South, we're so technologically behind. And all the corporations know it, so like I'm not saying anything new. But I used to get on my bike and just like ride somewhere and just work from there. Mobile Wi-Fi hotspot. Wow. And sometimes it was just an escape from New Orleans. It was an escape from whatever. Work didn't feel so bad if you're like eating beignets and you know what I'm saying, like and working. Like work's getting done. Nobody's complaining. Right. So that was always my mindset, is just trying to not necessarily change my environment, but look for the best in the environment that I'm in. And that's what I really try to provide people here. It's just that ambiance that you're still in Baton Rouge, right? But there's so much more to Baton Rouge than what's portrayed on the news or that you hear about, or even where you wake up every day. It may be good, it may not be, but you know, there's some dope areas of Baton Rouge that you haven't even explored. And on a bike, you can find the beauty in a lot of areas.
Yeah. So I want to kind of comment it, but I don't want to lose what you said.
Oh no, you're good.
For me, when I was riding, I do want to say, like, it is a different experience being on the bike and riding through the city. And for me, I don't even know how to put it in words, but it did have an impact on me just being in the city on a bike versus being on a car or even walking. Like, because I may walk, but like I don't really walk the city though. But
right.
So maybe,
nobody's really, yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, but bike wise, it was a different feel. I do agree with that, but I do want to go back to, you were saying that it started as an escape and you were riding, and it helped you escape the workforce. It did. To create your own, but I know it's not as simple as that. So how did it go from a passion to a like, hey, I might be able to make a living off of this, to, hey, I'm about to do this. Hey, I did it.
Right.
Like, what's that process, and was it difficult? Did you believe in it? Like, were you like nervous or scared? Like,
it's a mixture of all of those emotions, to be honest with you. Like, you really get a mixture of all of those emotions because it's not trading. Fighting the Forex trade. not gonna give me any more today. It really went from it was a mixture of emotions, but I really just had to be open and receptive. I think a lot of times people are presented with things and they're not open enough or honest with themselves enough to say, like, this could be more. Right. And the group of people that I was with, I'll say this, I'm not gonna lie, like Louisiana breeds some very ambitious people, and New Orleans definitely has like I get it. Like so many people from New Orleans make it, and I understand it. And it was a dope blessing to like be amongst so much determination, hustle, grind. You know what I mean? Like it's just a city that breeds that.
Yeah.
You know, from the kids sitting on Bourbon in the cold, drumming on the bottom of a bucket for $1. You know what I mean? There's so many people that take nothing and make something out of it. And the biking was a byproduct of that.
Okay.
We used to ride a lot for fun, and we were studying the market on, how rentals worked and, how you advertise.
It was a group of y'all doing
So
this?
Initially there was a group. I'm not going to lie. Like, I was dodging a little bit.
Group effort.
I was dodging a little bit. Just a little bit. Sorry. It's just mixed feedback, right? So in anything you do in life, if you start to excel at it, the people that you outgrow in a sense, or not even in a negative way, just life. It's not always well received when you surpass it. And I kind of feel that way about what's going on. But it initially started with a group of 9 of us, and I was on the first ride, and
that's a lot of people.
It was right. You see where I'm going with this, right? So, it started off as 9 of us just riding together, and it started off every week. Like, we rent bikes from different places. Some people would bring their own bike. People would get this new bike or be, got to see my bike this week. It was that type of excitement about it. And we added the lights because we were riding at night. Nobody wants to ride during the day during hot Louisiana. You know what I mean? Like nobody was really trying to ride during the day. And then we also wanted to allow people the opportunity that work during the day, like let's ride at night. And then a lot of the people that we knew, we were up at night anyway, because a lot of people work in the entertainment industry. So, it just became an outlet, like let's do it on a Tuesday because it's slow. Nobody's really.
So this was extra at the time, so it wasn't like a main thing.
It wasn't at all. Like I was still getting up and going to work every day and hating it. Like I love what I did. I hated the environment. Yeah. Like that environment will wear.
I'm sure a lot of people seem really.
And that's been my biggest thing. Like that's why I try to be so transparent about it, because you're not alone.
Yeah.
Like I don't care how much I'm still paying Sally Mae back. Like I hated it at a certain point. And it wasn't the work, it was just the demand or just the pressures of being an African American in corporate America. Like that's a real life.
Yeah.
And it's nothing that we can combat on our own because it's a group effort. Like it's not self-inflicted. And legitimately when you watch people with, not knocking anybody's degrees, but like I went through a rigorous program to actually get a degree doing what I'm doing. And then you have somebody who just knew somebody with a general studies degree with no computer experience, and he couldn't pass the nursing exam, and he gets paid more than you. You get overlooked for a position that was given to him. And he admittedly tells you every day, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, I don't want to hear this every day. You're getting paid more than me, and I got to help you. Like I have to make you know what to do, because that's my job to make you do. I'm good. Yeah. So, and I got tired of it. Like I became that angry black man. Like I did. Like anything that was at GE was interesting because it was like they made a promise to bring 300 jobs to New Orleans. 89% of the people weren't even from New Orleans that they gave the jobs to. And I worked there and I saw that firsthand. And then the mix of people that were there, like, and I'll never forget, like we used to have these meetings about, call them collabs, but there were groups that were like, there was one for Pacific Americans, Asian Pacific Americans, LGBTQT plus community, African American, different religions. Like there were just groups that you could join. Well, in the African American collab, they would always try to empower us to be more in the company. And and it just got to a point where I asked them, I'm like, you want us to aspire to be in management. However, there's nobody that's in this collab that's in management. So we can't aspire to be a manager when none of the managers look like us.
Right.
And they just started like, oh, yeah, I asked you, like, stop pushing us to do something, and you're already clearly showing us it can't be done.
Yeah.
And I asked why, and they said it was just hard finding candidates. Like, nah, like you're coming up with every excuse,
right,
and then this young black lady always saved him. Like the center, the director of the center, he would come in and have these fireside chats. It was supposed to be that open forum. And one of my other questions was, you were given money to open up programs at universities and build computer-based programs at a college campus. You chose UNO. Why not Dillard? Why not SUNO? Why not any of these other schools that could have really used it? Not knocking UNO, but you put money into Jesuit. You know, Jesuit is the equivalent of like a Episcopal or Catholic High, or one of, you know, they don't really need the funding.
Right.
Why wouldn't you put it in a St. Aug, who might not still need the funding, but it's still an African American school, or a Xavier Prep, or a Kennedy, or, you know, all Perry Walker, all these other schools in New Orleans. So, you know, I started asking those hard questions, but it also didn't always get me in the best positions. So, you know, at a certain point, I'm just like, I can't do this.
Right.
So after GE, I stopped, and that's when I told myself, spend 5 years trying something different. My degree's not going anywhere.
Right.
I can always come back to my degree. And that's where a lot of that came from.
When you said that, you knew it was going to be bikes, or you just
I did.
Okay.
I did. I'm not gonna lie. Like we kind of started biking at that point, but I didn't know what it was. But I knew one of the things that I can lean on and rely on heavy was the entertainment industry and tourism.
Yeah.
So I knew that was a constant in New Orleans. So I just started becoming a student of tourism in New Orleans, or just becoming a student of what's around me. And that's something that, you know, even when it comes to bikes, anything, if you're looking for, a lot of people are looking for a way out, or they're looking for something different to do, look at what's around you and try to monetize it, you know, and that's what that became. Like I was able to take something I enjoyed doing and monetize it. And one of the things that I started doing was, I didn't know what I wanted to be in business for, but I would go to business programs. I'll go to these business classes, like how to start a business, and go to these different seminars and SBA meetings. And, you know, one of the things that you have to do is take a step.
Yeah.
And if you're not taking any steps to get where you say you want to go, you're never going to get there.
Yeah.
Just like, you know, even, I'm jumping ahead, but even when it got to the point to where I was in one of the final programs that I was in, and I was up to potentially get some seed money to start up. It was what are you going to do when you get the money? Oh, well, I'm going to get this license, I'm going to get this, and get that. And he's like, so how much does that cost? And I'm like, oh, he's like, stop there, right? And he literally made me understand that to take an aspiration or a dream into a physical reality, you have to know these questions. Like, technically, like, if you say you need $10,000 to start your business, what's the first thing you're going to buy? Why is that the first thing you're going to buy? Where are you going to buy it from? How much is it going to cost? When is it going to come in? So it's a list of these questions that I wasn't prepared to answer, that I started writing down and detailing out what I would do. And it seemed extremely silly at the time, because I'm like, why am I doing this? I don't even have the money. I don't know where it's going to come from. I don't know any of this, you know? So, but, you know, when you pray about it, you believe in it, and you write it down and make it plain, those energies and those things start to manifest themselves. And that was one of the things that was a byproduct.
So you wrote down but at this time you knew it was a bike company, or you didn't know?
So that's what I said. I did.
Oh, you jumped.
I did.
Okay,
I did. So what I started doing was, one of the things you have to do is, in my mind, any successful entrepreneur, anyone that wants to transition, really look hard at how much it takes for you to survive every month.
Right.
And if it's $1,500, if it's $3,500, if it's $5,000, divide that by 30 and see how much you have to make a day. And then go after making that every day.
Yeah.
And when you go after making that every day, you start finding creative ways to hit that number. Yeah. Whether it's selling 5 t-shirts, selling this book, cutting this grass, doing this Airbnb, like riding this bike. It opens your mind to thinking about monetizing your skill set that you've never thought about before. Because you're so used to monetizing your skill set by telling someone, I qualify for this job because, you know what I mean? And they dictate your price. So when you actually have to turn around on the flip side and monetize your own value or worth or effort, you look at it different. And you start to understand, like, 50 an hour might be cool, but I feel like I can do more, or I can do better. And then you have to make that happen and prove not only to, if you prove to no one else, prove to yourself. Like, this is why that you have to go through this process and this iteration, because at that point, that's when the freedom starts to happen. You might not always hit that. You're not going to hit that mark initially, right? But if you make $50 a day and you can see where, let's say you make $50 a day, but if you break down your actual salary from a job, you might only make $50 a day. You know what I mean? After taxes, after they take everything out. You would have worked for somebody for 8 hours for the same $50 you might have made in an hour. Repeat that process. Grow that process, multiply that process to where there's more hours in the day where you get paid $50 an hour or whatever it might be that per hour that day. And once you take on that mindset and really understand that it's obtainable and it's doable, you just keep going after it. You keep trying to foster what it is that you can do. So for me, it started off in the entertainment industry just because it's New Orleans and tourism and a lot of that. So I worked with doing a lot of concierge for people that will come into town. Over the years, I've formed a lot of relationships, not only with like club owners and business owners and restaurants and managers and bartenders and promoters and like it just became you're coming to New Orleans, there would be a mutual connection. And what do you need? Do you need a section here? Do you need, access to this concert? Are you looking for this type of venue? Or you need this car service? So I was able to take everything that I had spent money. I was always a customer. I changed the narrative of me being a customer or like someone actually spending money on these things to offering it as a service to other people to spend money on. So instead of me being the one to pay for this section or to buy the interest to this club or these concert tickets, I advertise it as, what are you looking for? And Lil Wayne concert you can't get tickets for. This Nas concert at Republic, during Super Bowl, and all these random anything that happened in New Orleans for like 10 years. I was blessed enough to navigate to get access to it. You know what I mean?
You were able to give people access to things they didn't have access to.
Exactly. So I was able to actually replace my income, baseline income, by at least doing that. And then I worked in nightclub industries. Like I've helped manage, I've helped open venues, I've helped just do a lot of those things in that regard. So that kind of kept money coming in. No, you're good.
But with the business aspect, when you were in the nightlife, you're saying that was from your initial job that you had, that you were working in New Orleans, that you built these relationships, or that's where the connections came?
So what happened was, working corporate America, it stresses you a lot. So at the time, I was blessed to all I had to do was go to work. So if I'm working for them 8 hours a day, 16 other hours in the day, I can do other stuff. So I always worked downtown, so I would naturally make my way to Bourbon at some point and, spend a couple hours there and then go home.
So you just build these relationships organically while you were there? Being
a customer, just networking and just talking to people. And it eventually led me to meet some amazing people that helped me build that network.
Now, were you initially networking, or were you just being a customer and just because you're curious about people, just start talking to people and building relationships?
That's exactly where it came from. It got to a point to where when you go to if I'm gonna see you every week, and it would be like that because there would be different clients that would come on a weekly basis. If you're a security guard, I'm going to talk to you.
Right.
If you're a bartender, I'm going to talk to you.
Right.
At a certain point, the inside doesn't even excite me like that anymore. So I just started making these natural friendships and relationships. And they really, if you can monetize relationships to where it's beneficial for both parties,
right,
people aren't going to be opposed to that.
yeah,
And that's what it became.
okay,
You know, so if I can help bring in this celebrity that happens to be in town because I randomly know, we used to have a saying, it's all about knowing low people in high places, right? So you might just, you might just do booking, or you might do emails, you might do something low.
All right, everyone. Well, did you not enjoy that episode with Charles Daniel? I started to call him Chuck, but that was an amazing story. That's part one. So we will be with Chuck for a few more weeks, learning about the just the beginning process for him of starting Go Ride. So in this first episode, I know I was inspired. I hope you were inspired as well. It started off as a challenge. It started off as basically he was dealing with some attacks. He was dealing with racism on the job. He was unhappy. And he began writing, as we heard in there, he began writing as an outlet. But that outlet became his escape. And I don't know about you, but that is just so powerful to me. It's so inspirational. And so while I love Go Ride, to ride, and all the reasons I said in the video, I also love to be there. Just because seeing his vision come to life is inspirational to me. I know there's more inside of me, and I encourage each and every one of you. If you're not happy, now everyone listen, it's not for everyone to be an entrepreneur. And I know in this day and season, people may feel like they have to be. Sometimes it's good for everyone to have something that they have of their own. And it may not be something that you have to get up and do every day. But to have a skill set that you can monetize is not a bad thing. But everyone's not going to be an entrepreneur where you leave your job, your career, and do that. And so this is not to discourage anyone who does work in corporate America. It's not to speak bad against it. There are some people who thrive in those settings. And then there are people who made their personalities or just the purpose that God has for us is maybe pulling them and pushing them in another direction. And so that's who this is speaking to today. Maybe you already started and maybe you found some struggles along the way. This is going to be a great episode because he's going to be very candid and real about some of the things that he's gone through. So I hope that you would stay connected through the next 3 episodes. So it'll be 4 total. But I'm excited to take this journey. And then on February 28th, unless the weather says otherwise, we're going to have a bike ride. And so it's going to be a bike ride, a networking bike ride, a Go Ride. We'll probably start around 6:30. It'll be between 6:30 and 7. But there's also something else special about that day. It will be my birthday. So it will be a mixture of a networking and a birthday ride. And so if you are watching this, if you are an entrepreneur, if you want to just come to Go Ride, I encourage you to come out if you want to network. And we're going to have some other things for entrepreneurs. So be on the lookout. We will probably have a small group discussion with Charles Daniel. We'll have a small group discussion where we can just kind of ask questions and hear from him. I'm telling you, if you're an entrepreneur, you would want to have a conversation with him. He is definitely a businessman. So thank you again, Charles, for the conversation. And I look forward to y'all joining us for the rest of the episodes. And so now, just for the dedication, this is now time for the dedication segment. And so today I have a letter that an anonymous person wrote to themselves for Valentine's Day. And so this was something just to encourage herself, to uplift herself. And it wasn't something that I offered as an option, and I almost said no, but when she read it to me, I was like, you know what, that is good. Like, I'm going to read that on there. And so I do want the dedication segments to be us communicating with other people. But there are times it's going to be therapeutic exercises, I said. And so she was communicating, she was getting her thoughts out, her feelings out, as well as it was a therapeutic exercise. So I'm going to share that. Also, just want to remind you all, thank everyone who participated in a singles call last week with Bishop Greg Davis. They loved it. They're asking for more time with him. Bishop Greg gave us a little more time than he had intended. So he said he would come back. And so we're really excited about that, what's happening there. Again, if the weather acts right, then we will have our walk that we were supposed to have a few weeks ago, February 27th. So we hope that you would join us. The link is in my bio on Instagram. You can sign up and join us for the walk. It's a 4-mile walk at LSU Lakes. And so we are walking into wellness. It's going to be with Extreme Life with Tanisha. She is my first trainer that I've had, and one who's helped me to become confident to lose the weight, and not just lose weight, but to live healthy. So I'm excited about that walk coming up. I do have another date planned for a men's mental health discussion on relationships. I have it scheduled for March 4th at Southern Coffee. I don't know if I said it correct. But yes, I'm excited about all the events, all the things that's coming up. I have some great interviews coming up. The next conversation is going to be on finances. I'm so excited for you all to hear that discussion. It was just an amazing discussion, and I have some other great interviews coming up, and I can't wait to share all that with you. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into this letter. Hey, chick. Happy Valentine's Day. I know I was supposed to write this card earlier this morning to brighten your day, and now it's almost bedtime. I know you thought this was the year you would be spending Valentine's Day with someone, but it did not turn out that way. But guess what? Yeah, you've cried a lot today over a relationship that was lost. But remember, they that sow in tears shall reap with joy. Psalm 126, 5-6. It's also time for you to remember just how much God loves you, that you can't even begin to fathom what He has planned for your life. No eyes have seen, no ear has heard, and no mind has imagined what God has prepared for those who love Him. 1 Corinthians 2:9. So get excited and trust God that He is preparing His best for you. He loves you too much to allow you to settle. I love you so much, and I want you to experience all that God has for you. I can't wait for the day that you are actually standing and living in the midst of all that you've prayed for. Until that day, I love you so, so much. God loves you so much. Don't ever think that you are not loved or unlovable. Love me. Y'all, I think that letter was amazing. And sometimes we have to love on ourselves. We don't have to wait for somebody else to come and love on us. And so Valentine's Day, but it's not just Valentine's Day. Those who are single and desire a relationship, some days can be hard, especially the holidays. Not because the holiday means anything more. Yes, we definitely know it's just another day. However, it is a day that we remember sometimes that, you may not have anyone. And so I love how she loved on herself. I hope you did something to love on yourself. And guess what? If you didn't, I encourage you, you still have time because it was just another day. I know I went out with my friends. I had a great time. I listened to the artist Justin Rendell, which I can't wait to have him on here. But it was an amazing night. I had so much fun. And not once did I have that inkling of sadness of the fact that I was single. There was someone I was missing, but it wasn't necessarily a grief throughout the day. Like, I didn't feel bad, but I made sure to be intentional all weekend to celebrate myself. And so I loved when she read that letter. I thought it was, she had bought herself some flowers. She wrote herself the letter, and she did something for her that day. So I love it. I love all the letters. Thank you, everyone who has taken time to write something, to share something. It means so much to me. And until next time, guys, I hope y'all take care. I hope you are applying the individual steps that they have, that each of the conversations have provided. Oh, another thing, I had the conversation with Gary Chambers. And there's the phone banking opportunity. So we definitely want to encourage anybody who's watching, who supports Gary Chambers. I do support Gary Chambers. And so we want to get on the phones, and we want to make calls, and we want to help make sure that we're spreading the word of why we support him. And so we want to get those calls made to help give him that final push over to get into Congress. So we're really excited about what God is doing in his life, and for all of us, for the community. There's so many great things happening in Baton Rouge and surrounding areas. And so we're just really excited. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for those who are watching. Thank you for those who call, text, and just provide me any feedback. Thank you. I appreciate it. And you all take care and have a great evening.
Okay, we also want to offer up prayers and support just to those who have been without electricity. I would encourage people to please donate or look after friends and loved ones, those who may have gone without any water, electricity, food. They're cold. Let's take care of one another. So find ways in which you can donate or which you can help somebody else. We want to make sure we're doing that. And also let's pray for those who have lost loved ones in that major car pileup. I think it was in Texas. Please forgive me. I don't remember exactly where it was located. But yeah, there were many cars and families who there were lives that were lost, so many people injured, so many cars that were damaged, so many lives impacted. And so we just want to remember to not to take any day for granted. We want to appreciate those who are there for us, our friends, our family, those who love us. We want to appreciate the people who care for us, because there's no day that is promised or guaranteed to us. So let's keep them all in our prayers as well.
Let's talk about unlearning and relearning, right? I had to unlearn some things for myself, right, and so that I can be a vessel to my family to bring the knowledge in and make practical everyday examples of what we are to be doing with money.
That's good, Bishop.
Man, I hope you writing all this down. These are little videos, man. I don't even remember the first one. You gonna send them to me, right? You gonna play the tape back. I'm just not gonna do it. Yeah, I'm just not gonna do it. I'm not gonna be unhappy for nobody else.